Kia ora, it's Chris with Earth Sciences New Zealand with this weather update. I'm calling it a podcast because, it just kind of fits the bill. I tend to talk a lot about weather, and I love talking about weather. Hopefully you like listening. Let's get to it. We are recording this Wednesday on the 10th of September, Wednesday afternoon, and we're looking ahead to Thursday, Friday, and beyond. Look, Wednesday, by the way, a warm day. Low 20s in Hawke's Bay. Wow, that's going bye-bye. So we're going to go island by island. Let's start with the North Island. This is Thursday morning, zooming in here, 6 o'clock in the morning. Pretty quiet commute as you make your way to work and school. Maybe some rain early in the morning over toward the very top of the country, over toward the far north, and maybe a few showers over toward Taranaki in the western part of the North Island. I think the far north will probably be a rain magnet for the day on Thursday. You can see how the periods of showers, so kind of zooming and giving the far north a bit of love here. So over toward Kerikeri, over toward Kaitaia, expect periods of showers. Probably nothing extremely heavy, but look, we do see late in the afternoon, early evening, a few areas of pink and purple, so we can't rule out a few heavier showers. In terms of rainfall amounts, the model is showing about 50 millimeters near Cape Reinga, but I don't know if that'll happen. That seems a bit lofty. Look, as I like to remind people, this is guidance. This is not gospel. It is guidance. So I think the action really gets going Thursday evening. Let's zoom out once again. Again, we're going for the North Island. For those watching and wanting to know about the South Island, hang tight. You're coming up next, but we're going to start at the top of the country. So Thursday evening, you can see how this heavier rain starts to shift south. Look at that. And by late Thursday night, I guess strictly speaking, early Friday morning, here we are after the stroke of midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, you can see we start to see some heavy rain move toward the Auckland area. And if the modeling works out, the modeling has been showing this over the past few days, this signal, this indication for heavy rain across the upper North Island before sunrise on Friday. So very early in the morning, you may get woken up with some heavy rain and, a bit of lightning too, so maybe some thunderstorms. And you can see that will continue and persist from Whangarei through the Auckland area, maybe down toward Hamilton, perhaps even Tauranga. This is 4:30 in the morning. And by 6 o'clock in the morning, look, we'll see what happens, but if everything goes well, fingers crossed, it looks like the heaviest rain may be out of here for the morning commute on Friday. That would be good news. But there is more. You can see over toward the west, another area of rain that I'm pointing to. That'll probably come in during the midday hour. So what's going on? Why? So this is a podcast. I can get into the why. It's all about temperature difference. What I'm showing you here is dew point temperature. Now, look, strictly speaking, this is the temperature at which dew forms, but it's a really good proxy for the amount of moisture in the air. Basically, the higher the dew point temperature, up here, for example, 16.5 nearly, that has a lot more moisture than, say, the dew point or the air mass down here with a dew point temperature of roughly 4 degrees. So this is a good indicator of air mass, and we can see a pretty moist and warm air mass to the north, and to the south, not so much. So there is a front here. There is a boundary. If you don't believe me, I'm going to draw it in, because if I draw it in, it's got to be true. There you can see there is the boundary. I just drew it in, but we can also look at something else. How about wind? Yep, you can see how the wind is coming pretty briskly from the northwest, kind of outside of the modeling domain, and it kind of comes to an abrupt stop right about here. That is another indication of a front. This is actually a warm front, the leading edge to warmer air. This will be the focal point for rain, showers, and thunderstorms. So here is Thursday afternoon. Watch as I kind of put this into motion. By the way, can I just spend a little bit of time just looking at, this is just so beautiful. I mean, look at this. You can see it, like the air mass, how gaseous it is. This is the high-res model, so you can get that real detail here over the, areas off the west coast of the South Island, for example, that bubbly nature. Nonetheless, enough of the fawning over the graphics here and the data. As we put this in motion, you can see here comes low pressure to the west. It's going to push that humid air. I say humid air. It's relatively humid air farther south, and that will, so early on Friday morning, it may seem a little bit gooey for Auckland and Northland. as we barely get into that warm, sort of quasi-warm air mass. That rain that is forecast to end on early Friday morning, so here it is, 6 o'clock. You can see the majority of that rain is off to our east. There's a second round coming. So this is Wednesday. Let's make that Thursday, Chris. So Friday, I beg your pardon. So Friday morning, 6 o'clock. There is that rain I showed you. It looks a little different here because this is not the high-res model. But what you can see, if you look carefully, there's actually a second front right there. Can you see it? Let me help you out a little bit. This right here is an actual front. You see how the isobars, which are these lines, these thin white lines, those are lines of equal pressure. So generally speaking, when we see a kink like we do here in the isobars, that's indicating a front. And what really confirms it, a couple other things. We're just going to geek out slightly here. Right there, you can see a change in color. There's a distinct change in color going from just offshore of Hamilton, where my arrow is. And then I bet you, as I put on the wind, yep, you can see how the wind shift is right there as well. So it all points to a cold front, the leading edge, the colder air. So as that whips through around midday-ish on Friday, there's probably going to be some showers, maybe some heavy, look at that, yeah, a little bit of heavy shower action, look at that, yeah. Now, whether this is exactly over where the model is indicating or not, that's in some ways not overly significant. I guess the message is this: late morning Friday, early afternoon Friday, with the second, with this cold front, a second round of maybe some heavier showers and thunderstorms. Won't last long, but it could be a little bit beefy. How much rain can we expect? Let's go here. This is early Saturday morning, early Friday morning, I beg your pardon. You can see many areas across the far north could see upwards, we're in the purple here, in the pink. So 50, 75 millimeters of rain. We can just kind of do a quick scan. Some areas, anywhere in that light pink is 50 millimeter plus of rainfall. And you can see some pockets in the Auckland area, maybe the Coromandel. But this is just one opinion. Guess what we can do? We can look at a multitude of opinions, can't we? You can leverage our ensemble modeling. This is the really cool thing about ensemble modeling is what you're doing. You're not relying on just this one outcome. You're saying, right, give me a whole bunch of outcomes and let's see how they stack up against one another. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at our, here we go, 18, this is, where is it? Right here, 18, here it is. Doesn't make for great TV, does it? So, actually, let me go to here. So we have 18 outcomes, right? And what we can do is we can say, right, out of those 18 outcomes, and I just showed you that right here. So we're looking at the South Island, but I just by way of illustration as I disappear, these are 18 different outcomes we are considering. And when we evaluate or, I guess, consider all those 18 outcomes, we can ask some questions. Like, for example, how much rain may fall by, say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday, and we have 3 scenarios. So we have our 10th percentile, which is basically a low-end scenario. Basically, there's a 90% chance the amount shown here, they're going to be more than that. Then on the far right-hand side, this is our 90th percentile. So what this is saying is that, look, this is a low chance. There's only about a 10% chance that the amounts that you're looking at here will be exceeded or greater than. And it gives us an idea if things got kind of gnarly, what does that look like in this situation? Well, here's what it looks like. Widespread 50 to 75 millimeter rainfall. So while that is possible, it is not probable. What is probably more likely is the middle of the road scenario, 50th percentile. So this is something like 30, 40 millimeters of rain for much of the upper half of the North Island. You can see that coloring kind of jives with this right here, that 25, 35, 40 millimeters of rain. So I guess low outcome, 25 millimeters, high outcome, 75 millimeters, again, broadly speaking, for the upper half of the North Island. So somewhere in that 25 to 75 millimeter range for a lot of areas by mid-afternoon on Friday. That seems to be the consensus when you kind of evaluate the range of outcomes before us. We're going to go to the South Island, I promise you. We'll get there in a moment. But let's put a bow on the North Island, put a bow around that. So what's causing this, again, as I mentioned, the temperature difference, right? The gradient showing, you can see it quite nicely here. You go from this lighter blue to darker blue. You can see it super nice with this dew point temperature forecast. So this is humid, moist air. This is cooler, drier air. And guess what? Low pressure loves to follow gradients. That's just a rule of thumb. So here's our low pressure, and guess what? That gradient, see how it goes west to east? It's almost a straight line. You ready for this? Guess which way that low is going to move? Right across that gradient in almost a straight line. Once that low, Friday night, zips to our east, we get into a southwest flow of air like this. Oop, let's get rid of that. This is our southwest flow of air, and that is going to allow for cooler temperatures. So we're going to see a much cooler air mass move in on Saturday. So Saturday is shaping up to be a much cooler day across the North Island. In fact, here's a quick squiz on Saturday. A few showers early in the morning, top of the country, but generally speaking, drier, a little bit breezy, and certainly much cooler. Right, let's go to the South Island. South Island has been dealing with some pretty decent snowfall for, as I record this on Wednesday and Wednesday night. So by Thursday, 6 o'clock in the morning, that snow is gone. We do see generally dry weather. You see these popcorn, these, I guess, looks like measles almost. These are just showers that'll be chiefly offshore or near the coast. May fall snow over some of the higher terrain of Southland. But I think for the most part, by and large, it looks to be a dry day on Thursday for the South Island, apart from, say, the western part of Southland over toward Fiordland National Park, perhaps toward Invercargill, seeing passing showers. Let's have a squiz at the wind. The wind on Thursday, not overly impressive. If it is going to be a bit windy, so zooming in for our friends down in Otago, Dunedin, over toward Southland and Invercargill and Gore, we see the gold and mind the color bar. That's 50K wind gust. So if I kind of just move my cursor around, you can plainly see how, yeah, we're seeing 40, 50, 60K wind gusts pretty common across the lower South Island on Thursday. And you throw in temperatures that are likely to be around 9, 8, 7 degrees. This is midday. Ooh. The wind chill temperatures are going to be near below zero. It's going to feel like winter. That is the beauty of spring. One day it feels, oh my gosh, we're kind of turning the corner. It's really nice out. It's mild. It's warm. Next day we're back to winter. So that is spring in a nutshell. We're going to be living up to that. This is, again, Thursday. Now, as we go ahead into Friday, things start to change a little bit. Moving forward, you can see here's Thursday night, still dealing with those pesky showers. Here comes another front. You can see that quite nicely. I mean, that's a beauty, isn't it? You can see how the front, it's a real thin area of rain, but this is what I'm pointing to is the cold front, leading edge to colder air. And you can see that front is nicely defined here looking at our wind forecast. You can see that the wind is more west to southwest behind this convergence zone. This is what it is, and more northwest ahead of it. And where the two meet, we got ourselves a front, and we got ourselves some showers, briefly heavy showers, which could come on shore in Invercargill after the, say, 6 a.m. hour. So in Invercargill, Gore, you could have a puff of wind and a burst of rain, maybe 8, 9 o'clock in the morning on Friday. In fact, let's carry that torch from Friday. There's the front right there. You can see, yep, pushing through Southland, pushing up across the west of the South Island, kind of falling apart. You can see it has a nice looking feature. It's solid, that rain there, but it loses its integrity, doesn't it, as it moves north with time during the day on Friday. Going to be a dry day. You guys in Christchurch, Eastern Canterbury, Nelson, looking pretty nice. Pretty quiet day on Friday. And with winds ahead of the front, not from the southwest, temperatures probably a bit milder. Yep, you can see there is certainly some, can you see the front? I mean, look at that, holy smokes. So this is a great example of a front. You can see how this is roughly 1:30 in the afternoon on Friday. You can see over lower and mid-Canterbury, we have temperatures forecast to be in the middle teens, maybe upper teens, but just a short distance away in the single numbers. And there is the front. I mean, that is the thing of beauty. Look at that, right in here. Right in there. And if you were to, I'm just going to draw it right here. Let's see how well that lines up. So there's the front, right? And if I put our temperature map on, yeah, lines up pretty darn nice. So Friday, expect a changeable day in terms of temperature for the South Island, Canterbury, Christchurch, decent weather. We'll have dry conditions. Then late in the afternoon, maybe around dinner time, probably a bit of rain moving into eastern Canterbury and Christchurch. Not terribly long-lasting, maybe a couple hours. That should be about it. For the top of the South Island, looking dry. Little, if any, rain expected Thursday and Friday, with overall decent conditions. The weather gets interesting again Friday night. Look at that. That's snow falling over the higher elevations of the western South Island late Friday night. This is 11:30 at night. And that will continue and get heavier into the wee hours of Saturday morning. Look what's going on. There's a pretty beefy low. Look at that. That is a low pressure. Put it right here. Oh, we'll get rid of that. This is low pressure. And you can see our airflow is like this on the back side of the low. And what does that mean? That means we're going to be dealing with chilly temperatures as I get rid of that. Look at this. This is early Saturday morning. Many areas, get rid of that, sorry. Many areas will be in the single digits with some of the higher elevations closer to zero. And that is where the snow may fall. This is going to be a quick hit of snow. It is going to snow pretty hard Friday night and Saturday morning for the western South Island. So if you have travel plans, people in the area, the western area, the South Island, is going to see a good dumping of snow in a short period of time Friday night into Saturday morning. So Saturday itself, there you can see the weather situation, southwest flow, a cooler, chilly day on Saturday. No doubt about it. And I would expect as we go to the global model, what can we expect beyond Saturday? Well, let's rewind things just a skosh. So there's Saturday afternoon. You can see brisk southwest winds. You can see showers of rain. That rain should clear for the South Island. Oh, I hear there's maybe a rugby match, rugby test. There's a test. I call it a game. I don't know. Test. I don't know. Look, sorry. It's where my birth country. But either way, South Africa, New Zealand, the All Blacks, yeah, what can we expect? Windy weather on Friday, or Saturday, I beg your pardon. Look at that. Gusty southwest winds, chilly temperatures. Let's have a look at those temperatures. We're going to be like 10, 11 degrees with a hearty southerly. Dress warmly if you're going to the rugby in Wellington Saturday evening. And there's another one happening. I believe it is, who's playing on Saturday? There's another one. Warriors. Thank you, Seth. What would I do without Seth? I don't even want to think about it. So, what can we expect for the Warriors Saturday evening? Is it afternoon or evening, Seth? Early evening. Dry. Mainly dry on Saturday evening for the Warriors. It will be breezy. There you can see gusty southwest wind. Again, if you're going to the rugby, the Warriors in Auckland, Saturday evening, dress warmly. Temperatures won't be as cold as Wellington, but the wind will be brisk. And let's be honest, we Aucklanders, we are precious people. We get chilly when a temperature is maybe modestly cool and there's a healthy wind. So dress warmly. Okay, then, what about the rest of the weekend on Sunday? Still pretty breezy. You can see southwest flow. There's our wind. Yep, a lot of gold. So that tells us 50K wind gusts. Still going to be breezy. Still dealing with showers, mainly the west of the South Island. Probably not a lot of rain elsewhere. So it may not rain a lot this weekend for the North Island, but it will be cool. It will be breezy. And that continues into Monday. Look, just jumping ahead. Next Tuesday, we may have some pretty active weather to contend with. We've got a high to the north, pretty beefy low to the south, and there is the squeeze. You can see northwest winds. Let's chuck our winds on. You can see that is a northwest flow, so that tells me we are going to warm up. Look at this air coming off Aussie. This is a pretty warm air mass. You can see here, this is, again, we're looking at about 1,600 meters above the ground, a 850 pressure level. And this gives us an idea what the temperature, personality will be of the atmosphere. And it's a warm one. So I think next week, as we get past Tuesday, so next Wednesday, we're going out roughly a week now, but just a bit of a heads up, we're likely to see another active period as early as Tuesday, getting much warmer by Wednesday, particularly for the western South Island. So just a heads up, active weather coming as this next weather system passes between high pressure to the north and low pressure to the south. That'll give us a good squeeze and give us some pretty good wind and rain for the South Island as we approach late Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. So again, Friday morning, watch out for the North Island. We are going to be dealing with some potentially a period of pretty heavy rain between 3, 4, 5 in the morning before you go to work on Friday, and then a second round of rain likely around midday Friday. There's that low zipping by, so that'll give us some excitement. So some active weather Thursday night into Friday morning for the North Island, and then it's the snow. By the way, I got to show you this, then I'll tap out here. Where is it? Yeah, here it is. So snowfall. This is if you like, I don't know, if you're into spring skiing. Look, if you're into skiing, you're into spring skiing, right? What are the odds for more than 15 centimeters of snow? Well, not great on Friday, but check out Saturday, check out Sunday. We're going to get a good drop of snow here across the Southern Alps, higher elevations, Friday and Saturday, or Saturday and Sunday. So something to keep in mind. Snow will be falling across the higher peaks, maybe even not the higher peaks, a bit lower peaks for Saturday and Sunday, and that wind will be pretty brisk as well. I mean, just have a look at this. This really tells the story quite nicely. We can look at what are the odds for, say, 100K wind gusts, starting with Thursday. Not great odds, widespread. Friday we ease. Look at that, Saturday and Sunday. That's a signal, man. Even though we're not talking widespread high category, there are pockets of red, chiefly at high elevations, for the gusts to go higher than 100K right there, right? And a lot of areas in Southland, look at that. I mean, if you go towards Southland, this is Sunday. Yeah, medium chances for exceeding 100K wind gusts. Dunners, Invercargill, and that continues Saturday. So Saturday and Sunday, coastal Southland, coastal eastern Otago, going to be windy, and that's a really good illustration of that right there. I guess the odds or the probability or the likelihood for seeing those wind gusts. And if you're trying to get an understanding what is coming farther afield, let's just, I guess, end things on NIWA 35. Give us some indications. I think things are going to get a lot more settled. We talked about this earlier. We talked about it with the seasonal climate outlook that we recorded about a week ago. Have a look at this. Yeah. Certainly the west of the South Island, we thought it would be a wet September, and it is living up to that expectation. But notice, for the top of the country, we don't see a lot of green, do we? We see a lot of white, which is near normal rainfall, but we also see a lot of brown. So as we move into late September into October, high pressure is going to favor New Zealand, and that will start to dry things and start to turn the faucet off. You can see by the second week of October, if this is accurate, not a lot of areas of widespread rain, or above normal rain, I should say, probably a better way of qualifying it. So while it is going to be active for the next week, maybe even 2 weeks, as we get toward the second half of September and beyond that second half, that mid-month kind of milestone, I think the trend line will be for more settled weather and for eventually warmer weather, especially that last week of September and as we work our way into October. So, yep, watch out for the rainfall. It could be some beefy rain across the top of the country into the eastern part of, say, Gisborne, or northern parts of Gisborne, late Thursday night into Friday morning. And then we got some snow. Yeah, baby. Snow for the western South Island. Check that. Friday night into Saturday morning, and a chilly weekend ahead. I just realized I did a bunch of that without being on screen. It's better on screen, isn't it? Anyway, that's it for me. We'll see you next time. I'm Earth Sciences meteorologist Chris Brandolino. Namahi Nui.